What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Sports. I figured I'd just do a recording of this version because I still do have PTSD of my internet completely screwing over my Phillies recap stream last night, so I'm just going to be doing a recorded edition of this reaction to breaking news, actually. So, definitely no one was expecting this today, and that was out of basically left field of all the people to do it was Travis Sanheim of the Philadelphia Flyers. He's the one that basically breaks that the Flyers extended Travis Konecny to an 8-year contract, and the annual value is going to be $8.75 million a year. Definitely a more bizarre way to break a contract, a rather funny way to extend the contract. I want to actually get up the Travis Sanheim tweet here because it was actually very funny that he's the one that's breaking it. So it was from Sandy on Twitter saying that sources say Flyers forward Travis Konecny isn't going anywhere as the 27-year-old is closing in on an extension to stay in Philly. My source, he does the little gif that TK making that like weird face or something like that. I'm not sure if that was in the playoffs or anything back in the bubble of 2020. So he used that like gif of Travis Konecny that goes around a lot throughout Flyers Twitter. And then the Flyers eventually quote tweeted that with the little eyeball emoji, and then they eventually announced the official announcement of Konecny getting extended to his contract. And right now, face value, like pure reaction to the deal, I think it's an okay deal. I think it's a fair deal. Definitely in my range, I was expecting Konecny to get around $8 to $8.5 million a year annually, and that's where I would have been fine at. That's where I would have accepted the contract payment. This is, not an overpayment to an exaggerate degree or anything like that. It's a tad of an overpayment. I definitely would not have liked the contract if it was anywhere above $9 million a year. I don't think Konecny is worth that much type of money per season, but I can live with 8.75. But still, Konecny definitely has to live up to this contract. He definitely has to improve still year after year after year. He has to improve on 30-plus goals. He's been doing it for the past couple of seasons here, 30-plus goals. And hopefully now with added that Matvei Michkov is officially in Philadelphia. That happened a couple of days ago as well, so we could even get into that for a little bit here in this little video, however long it may be. So him and Danny Briere and Matvei Michkov's interpreter had their little press conference the other day when Matvei Michkov landed at JFK Airport in New York. And then you see Danny Briere and Keith Jones picking him up. Danny Briere, holding his sticks for Michkov. And then, of course, they had to get Michkov in a Philadelphia Phillies that, you gotta preach to the city. You gotta preach to the fan base and what they like. And, of course, they put it. Matvei Michkov in a Phillies that I just found that to be absolutely hilarious right there. And I found it also very hilarious that Keith Jones and Danny were just there to pick him up, and they're both just holding his equipment. Just like, come on. Like, that's just funny. That's just very funny. But still, going back to TK's extension, like I said, I think it's a very okay deal. I don't think it's too egregious. I don't think it's the best deal in the world, and I do think the no movement clause stuff just came out actually from Kevin Kurtz. So it's the first 6 years of the contract are a full no movement clause, so he is guaranteed to be in Philadelphia for at least 6 years, and I think the last 2 years of the contract are a modified no trade clause. So he'll have a list of teams that he'll only accept trades to and a list of teams that he doesn't want to be traded to in those final 2 years. So basically guaranteeing that Travis Konecny is going to be a Philadelphia Flyer until what? So it's an 8-year contract. He's 27, 28 years old. He's around 35, 36 years old. So it definitely on the back end of the contract is Travis Konecny going to age well. I think that's what the Flyers are trying to bank on right here. They're trying to bank on his career aging well and better than maybe more comparables to some players that are around the type of player that he is. He's getting contracts similar to, like Timo Meyer of the New Jersey Devils, Sam Reinhart of the Florida Panthers, which I do believe Sam Reinhart is definitely worth more than a Travis Konecny, but the Flyers are definitely expecting Travis Konecny to at least maybe age into that range. Hopefully that could be the case. But like I said, it's not the worst contract in the world. I'm not saying that whatsoever. It's a fine deal, just a very slight overpayment. I would have preferred more in the $8 to $8.5 million range. I don't think he was getting anything less than that, and thankfully he didn't get any more than that either. I think a lot of people are more in term of more egregious with the term of the contract more than the money. But then, of course, right now, Philadelphia Flyers Twitter is just with the entire Travis Konecny, do you trade him for assets? Do you extend Travis Konecny? Flyers Twitter is just in a gigantic cesspool of cancer when it comes to this topic, because there's a section of Philadelphia Flyers Twitter that's just enamored by Travis Konecny and thinks he needs to be extended long term. He's one of the best players on the team, which I'm not saying Travis Konecny is a very good player in the National Hockey League. He definitely deserved this contract, even though I do think it's a slight overpayment in my honest opinion. But then there's also that side of Philadelphia Flyers Twitter that think, Travis Konecny is not that good of a player, actually. He's only benefiting his point totals and his goal totals because he's on a bad team and he benefits from the rush and all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. That basically saying that Travis Konecny really isn't that good of a player and you should trade him for assets just to try to get something back. But that also doesn't kind of make sense at the same time, because if you don't think that Travis Konecny is that good of a player, then why would you think trading him would get you a lot of assets in return? So that just doesn't kind of make sense to me. Preferably, I think Travis Konecny is a very good player in this league, and I think, on any other team in the league, if he had better talent around him, he probably would be putting up more point totals in the league. Not like surpassing 100 points. I'm not saying anywhere near that. But if he had a team with a freaking functional power play, for instance, he'd probably be around point per game, and he'd probably be near 40 goals at this point. Because if you look at TK's totals from the past couple of seasons, actually, in 76 games this year, he put up this past season, actually, 23-24, he put up 68 points. He had 33 goals, 35 assists in 76 games. He only had 9 power play points and 4 power play goals. And he also had he had more shorthanded goals than he had power play goals, and he had 2 less points shorthanded. He had 7 points shorthanded to 9 points on the power play. So that is just insane, in my honest opinion. So I would expect the Flyers' power play physically just can't get worse. It just can't. It can't. It can't. It was the worst power play I've ever experienced in my goddamn life. I've never seen a power play so bad than what was the 2023-2024 Philadelphia Flyers. And if the Flyers just had an above-average power play, just even a mediocre power play, a middle-of-the-pack power play, even a below-average power play, just not to the extent of how dreadful and how brutal and how ugly and how vomit-worthy last year's power play was, they probably would have been in the playoffs. They probably would have been in the playoffs. Imagine the record if they just had a below-average power play. Instead of scoring 1 every 50 power plays, they could maybe score 1 every maybe 10 power plays or something like that. 1 every 15, 1 every 20 power plays or something like that. Hell, maybe you could see 2 3 power play goals in a game. That's a rarity with that team last year. Jesus Christ, it was a rare occurrence when they scored 1 power play goal. An even bigger rare occurrence if they scored 2 power play goals in the same game. That's how dreadful last year's power play was, and Konecny still managed to put up 30-plus goals regardless of that. So I would assume his totals go up if, and like I said, it can't get any worse than it was last year. I would expect him to put up at least more to that, in my honest opinion. And then also, if you look at the 22-23 season, where Konecny really had a big bounce back, because in the COVID-shortened season, he really didn't have that big of a year. He had 11 points, 11 goals, 23 assists, 34 points in 50 games in that shortened year. And then the season after that, he really had a down year, 52 points, 16 goals, and 36 assists. And then he really started to pick the pace back up again and really start to take another step in his game when John Tortorella became the head coach of this team in 22-23. It was an injury-shortened season season for Konecny. In 60 games, he put up 31 goals and 30 assists for 61 points. So Konecny was basically averaging point per game that season under John Tortorella, and he's basically able to maintain that 30-plus goal pace, that 30-plus assist pace for 60-plus points. He probably, he had 68 and 76 games, so maybe he would have had 70-plus in an 82-game span, probably. So right now, he's around a 69-point pace player, 70-plus point pace player with 30-plus goals, 30-plus assists. The Flyers are definitely banking on him aging very, better than I would say, mainly being an outlier to maybe what his type of player is. He likes to, be in your face. He's very physical. He likes, he's basically a rat. You can compare that type of, mentality to a Brad Marchand, to where he's just a pest to play against. And the Flyers are definitely, I wouldn't say to the level of the way Brad Marchand completely just elevated his game when he got to around the age that Konecny is at. But the Flyers are definitely banking on something to where Travis Konecny does take another step in his game. He's still young enough. He's still basically right at the start of his prime, 27 years old. So you can definitely expect the first 3, 4, 5 years of the contract to still at least have good, solid production. From Konecny, I would expect better production, especially from the contract that you're making. But also still, you got to handle with the cap space the way that it is right now. The cap now is finally going up again after being basically in a standstill the past couple of years due to COVID and the pandemic and all that crap. So, and the players having to repay all the escrow stuff and all that stupid crap with the NHL salary cap. Now that it looks like now in the next few years, the NHL salary cap is going to be taking some jumps, like it is taking a drastic jump this year. The contract definitely isn't going to look as bad. And the Flyers are definitely going to be losing a lot of dead cap on their salary. They're going to be losing some of their contracts as well. They're going to be losing the Pettersson contract, which is definitely a lot of money. They did just buy out Cam Atkinson, which does save them money this year, but will be dead cap next season as well. They do have some dead cap on Kevin Hayes. They still have freaking Ryan Ellis's contract, and there's definitely some contracts on this Flyers roster that will come to basically a close at some points. The Ryan Johansson deal is going to be ending after this year. What else? They got Eric Johnson for one more year. I'm just trying to look at some other players that you could possibly look at here. Like, yeah, the Cal Peterson contract ends. There's 2 more seasons of Kevin Hayes. There's 2 more seasons of the Cam Atkinson contract buyout. This is the last year of Tony DeAngelo's buyout, retained salary, whatever you want to call it there. Just looking at some other contracts as well. There's 2 more seasons of Scott Lawton. This is Noah Cates' last year, and finally RFA year as well. They did just extend Garnett half away. This is the last year of Morgan Frost before, he gets an extension if the Flyers are willing to do that. There's 2 more years of Paling. There's 2 more years of Nick Delorier, 2 more years of Bobby Brink. Matvei Michkov just came over here, so he's starting his entry-level contract. This is the last year of Tyson Forrester's entry-level year, so we'll see what happens there. Again, Goryanov just came off the books. So how many more years are left of Ryan Ellis? Jesus Christ, there's 3 more years left of Ryan Ellis. Rasmus Ristolainen, is he going to be a Flyer here for the future? I have no idea. He has 3 more years left on his contract. There's some contracts coming off of the book, and there, a lot of things here. But definitely with the cap going up, it definitely won't look as egregious as some people think right now, even though I said that this contract isn't my favorite. Like I said, I think it's a tad and a slight overpay, in my honest opinion, just for the totals that Konecny has been putting up the past couple of seasons. He definitely now needs to play up to the contract totals, and I do need to see some type of progression in Travis Konecny's game, whether that means he progresses with Matvei Michkov, and Matvei Michkov makes him that much better of a player. And yeah, there's still some concerns of like who's going to be the center and all that stuff. Is Sean Couturier going to be healthy this year, coming off of a goddamn sports hernia? Just because Couturier just cannot catch a break whatsoever. So is Coots still going to be the top line center? Is Morgan Frost going to take that jump in his game to be a second line caliber, first line caliber center? I have no idea. I highly doubt it at this point. But does Matvei Michkov improve a Morgan Frost? Does he improve a Travis Konecny? And there's still some other players on the team. A lot of people are concerned about the depth, signing too many guys to contracts like right wingers, like where certain guys go into play. I'm not really concerned about that aspect because there are some certain guys that can play the off wing because you do have a lot of right wingers locked up. But Konecny can play the off wing, Tippett can play the off wing, Forster has shown that he can play the off wing, and Matvei Michkov, he's going to be playing in the top six, whether that's the first line automatically, which I don't expect right off the get go. I expect somewhere like around the second line ice time or something like that. Maybe Matvei Michkov plays with a Morgan Frost and an Owen Tippett or something like that to start off the season. It really depends on how training camp goes when we eventually get to that point and that time, and that's not still basically a few months away at this point. So that's still a long ways away, even though basically it's going to come up like it's nothing because we're already at Eagles training camp and NFL training camp in general, and that felt like it was a long ways away so long ago, and now it's finally here, and we're basically back into Eagles talk along with the Phillies rest of the season. So basically, Flyers training camp and everything, it's going to be here before you know it. The regular season's going to be here before you know it, preseason and all that stuff, and then the inevitability of Matvei Michkov's NHL debut, which will be very, 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 very exciting. Sadly, they do start on the West Coast, so that sucks. That sucks on that instance. But yeah, basically right now, face value, pure reaction to Travis Konecny's contract. I think it's a slight overpayment, but I don't think it's a terrible contract. I don't think it's a terrible contract whatsoever. It definitely is more in terms of market value. Anthony DeMarco of the 4 period even referenced the Timo Meyer contract, where it's basically a direct comparable to that. So Timo Meyer, I think, is making $8.8 million a season. So Konecny's making just a tad, a little bit less than that. So, and I think a lot of people now, they're going to be judging the contract more harshly just because of a lot of the no movement clauses. So, like I said, Flyers Twitter is definitely a very cancerous cesspool right now just because not many people see eye to eye. Flyers, like I said, Flyers Twitter is one of the worst Philadelphia Twitters out there, even though Eagles Twitter is worse, Sixers Twitter is worse. I think Flyers Twitter is definitely up there with a lot of, cancerous minds out there because it's just filled with so much pessimism, filled with so much negativity. It's very hard to watch, and I don't even know why I even continue to be around Flyers Twitter because it's just that bad. It's really just that bad. Like no one can see eye to eye. It's just arguments, arguments left and right, and it's just like Jesus Christ, why do people have so much time for this? I find it very ridiculous in all honesty here. That's just it. And I'm trying to see if there's anything on here on Twitter because Travis Konecny did just have his press conference not that long ago. So we'll see what if anything really stands out. Nothing really stood out from Travis Konecny's comments and all that stuff. It was really just like standard stuff that he wants to be in Philadelphia long term. It was the best decision for him and his family. This is where he wants to win. This is where he wants to play. He wants to win a Stanley Cup in Philadelphia. So it's basically all the same stuff. Some people even brought up the Travis Sanheim breaking the contract, which was kind of hilarious. I guess they were kind of planning that in the background, or Sanheim told TK that if he ever did it extended, this is how I would do it. So it was kind of a funny thing in all things. Even Anthony DeMarco said that about the Sanheim post, that Sanheim coming over the top rope in late July to scoop all the reporters is a pretty funny way for the Konecny deal to have been broken. So yeah, really not that much stuff here in terms of post Travis Konecny from the interview and anything like that. But and yeah, Charlie O'Connor just confirmed everything about the no movement clauses. He can confirm via a team source that the Travis Konecny contract has 6 years of a no movement clause and then 2 seasons of a limited no trade clause. So that's basically it right there in terms of TK. And obviously, like I said, Flyers fans are going to be going at this back and forth for the next couple of days. I am not going to get myself involved in that whatsoever. You know what I mean? Konecny, I do believe he can get better. He has been improving the past couple of seasons, so we'll just see where this goes and we'll see what happens. But honestly, this also brings up something in my mind before we talk about Matvei Michkov for a little bit. This also, because Danny Briere and Keith Jones have been really stressing the rebuild and everything like that, this is going to take time. We're still like years away from like fully contending. And like, yes, obviously the question is, if you don't think you're close enough to contending right now, why are you extending Travis Konecny to a long-term contract with this term and this annual value? Why don't you just trade him, and why don't you just try to get value for him in return, whether that's prospects, whether that's draft capital, anything, or you try to go for need in terms of a hockey trade and you try to get a position of need back for Travis Konecny along with the other things, because yes, Travis Konecny right now probably is the biggest terms of value on the Philadelphia Flyers right now in terms of if you would have traded him. And yeah, that's 100% a fair question whatsoever. I would have, like I said, if the Flyers weren't able to come close to a contract extension with Travis Konecny, I would have preferably traded him because I'm not sure how much longer of contending this team has yet. I'm not sure how far they are yet. And they keep stressing, oh, that we're years away from contending. This is going to be a little bit of a process right here. But if you're signing Connecting to this long term of a deal, I don't think they're banking on waiting that long in terms of contending because they got all the draft capital in 2025. A lot of contracts come off the book. They're going to be getting a lot more cap space. I'm sure Danny Briere is going to be active at this year's trade deadline or next year's draft whatsoever to see what happens. Like I said, they're really banking on the 2025 draft, and I do think they're banking on some free agents in 2025, 2026. So maybe that's the point right there because Travis Konecny is 27 right now. He'll probably be turning 28 this year. So Konecny will probably be around 30 years old around the time that they're really trying to bank on this thing going. I think they're probably thinking of okay, we could probably make the playoffs this year and then really try to shoot for this thing after the 2025 draft, after we try to draft high, either move up in that draft or use a lot of these draft picks in hockey trades or anything like that. They got a lot more value and talent in return for our team. Or we go big and very heavy during some free agency classes because there definitely are some big names in the free agencies over the next couple of seasons that I wouldn't be shocked the Flyers are trying to bank on that because even though, like I said, this is all hypothetical in this kind of instance. But if you look at, I believe after the 2025 season, I do believe Leon Draisaitl becomes a free agent, and in 2026, Connor McDavid becomes a free agent. So I think that's the case of that. Don't quote me on this. Do not quote me on this. NHL free agents in what I guess 2024, 2025. NHL free agent tracker. Can I just go to Spot Track? Yeah, there we go. Go to Spot Track. So let's see, 2025 free agents after the 2025 season. John Tavares is a free agent. Mitch Marner's a free agent. Mikko Rantanen's a free agent. Crosby's a free agent. Draisaitl's a free agent. So yeah, there's a lot of people here that could definitely intrigue the Flyers. And if you look at the 2026 free agency class, Connor McDavid, Artemi Panarin, Jack Eichel, Cale Makar, Kaprizov. Yeah, there's a lot of names here that would definitely interest the Flyers, and especially if their cap space opens up, and that's where they're really banking on getting something here. You know what I mean? So, like I said, pure reaction point to this. I don't think it's a bad contract. I don't think it's a great contract. I think it's a very okay deal. If it's a slight overpay, I would have been more perfectly fine at $8 to $8.5 million a season for 8 years. The term really doesn't bother me that much in terms of everything else because you were going to have to lock up him to long term regardless in this contract. They were most likely going to extend him rather than trade him. That's just where it sounded like everything was going from at this point. So there was really no avoiding it. And like I said, $8.75 million a year. It's not team killing. It's not end of the world whatsoever. I just think it's a tad overpay. A tad overpay, and Konecny definitely is going to have to find ways to improve his game to make the contract worth more. And obviously, when the cap keeps going up, yes, this contract definitely is going to look as bad or as, like I said, slightly overpay as it does right now. You know what I mean? And then, that's basically it on that standpoint. And now going to Matvei Michkov. it really, if you're going to his press conference, everything like that, I don't know if this is a wrong way to say this or anything like that. It kind of does take away from, like, even though I'm still very excited that Matvei Michkov's in Philadelphia, don't get me wrong whatsoever, it kind of takes away the feel when you have to talk to someone through an interpreter because, like, you're not, even though it is coming from his mouth through a different voice because you have to translate what he is saying, but it's like, it kind of takes the emotion away from everything. But even though Matvei Michkov, it's funny too. He lands at JFK. in New York. Danny Briere Jonesy pick him up. They take him to South Jersey to the skate zone and everything right there. Dude wants to get on the ice immediately. Like, can I go skate on the ice? Can I put my equipment on and everything like that? No, because there's a sled hockey team on the ice and you can't go out there right now. But I do believe yesterday, I think the press conference was yesterday. It was yesterday or a couple of days ago where he even got on the ice before that. So the kid's ready to be here. They're going to be doing the tutor situation to where he can learn the English language and hopefully, just learn that over due time. And the guy just wants to win. The guy just wants to win. But I do kind of hope that some people don't put all the gigantic expectations on the world on a 19-year-old kid because there is going to be an adjustment period with him. You got to learn the different game. NHL and the KHL, definitely two different games. And I'm not trying to, damper expectations on Matvei Michkov whatsoever. I think he's going to be a dynamic talent for this team. Danny Briere is even trying to say we're not trying to treat this guy like the savior. And that's definitely the right thing for Danny Briere to do, even on the Flyers Twitter and all that stuff. They're kind of treating him like he's the savior of the franchise, not going to lie. But it's definitely going to be a transition period for Matvei, and we'll see what his rookie season is like. I'm very excited. That's definitely going to make Flyers hockey must-watch television. It definitely is, and I can't wait to see, what Tyson Forster has to improve on his game, what, Owen Tippett improves on his game, Cam York, Jamie Drysdale, and everything like that. Some full years of those guys can Morgan Frost find a way to excite people? Can we finally have a full healthy season of Sean Couturier and everything like that? So there's definitely some intriguing things right here. I would like to see what, the goaltending situation is going to be like with Sam Ersson and Ivan Fedotov. That'll be very interesting. It does kind of suck because it does sound like Kolosov is going back to Russia and that whole situation, everything like there, the homesickness and everything like that. That kind of sucks. That kind of sucks. And obviously that's going to reflect bad on the Flyers organization because now that's two prospects that don't want to be with the team and everything like that with Gauthier and out Kolosov. So it is what it is at this point. A lot of people will try to turn that and look bad reflect, but I feel like that's Briere just that can't do anything about that, really, in my opinion. But that's basically where it stands. Excited for Matvei. Excited for Matvei. Kid wants to be here. Wants to be a Flyer. I wouldn't be shocked if he throws up the first pitch in the Phillies game. People asked him about the question about the Phillies at. He knows. He knows the Phillies are a great team. They're one of the better teams in Philly. He knows nobody on the team. He doesn't know who his favorite player is. I would expect Matvei to be at the Phillies games this weekend against the Cleveland Guardians, so that'll be hopefully exciting at the least if he throws at the first pitch or something like that. I doubt if he'll be interviewed on the television broadcast. He did say he wants to go and meet the Phillies players and everything like that, so that would be some exciting things. Then maybe that could spark the Phillies to get out of this goddamn slump that they're in. Maybe. Maybe. Hopefully. Hopefully. Because I desperately need them to get out of a slump. I desperately need that to get out of a slump. And maybe Matvei Michkov is that piece. Maybe. Plays a wholly different sport. But maybe just the presence of Matvei Michkov sparks the Phillies. I'm trying to find anywhere of a spark right here, boys. We're inches and closer and closer and closer and closer towards the trade deadline for the Phillies. Nothing sounds imminent on trades right now. I really am not going to be shocked if Dave Dombrowski, he usually is a day of the deadline day type of trades and everything like that. So we're basically waiting and seeing until that point. So a lot of things to wait for here, but this was definitely unexpected news with the TK extension. So hey, at least it gave us something to talk about today. At least it gave us something to talk about today on the slow day of sports-wise with no Phillies playing today whatsoever. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for today, everybody. I appreciate everyone for tuning into this recording. Sadly, like I said, I did not want to run the risk of a live stream and the internet completely shitting on me. Like I said, I have PTSD from the internet completely just canceling me out last night during the Phillies recap. So, like I said, well, I'll get that thing sorted out and everything like that, and we'll be on the standard of the Phillies recap live streams from here on out. Hopefully that's the case. Hopefully OPS just doesn't do anything stupid in terms of kicking me offline. Hopefully that's not the case. So thanks guys for tuning in today. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. I would like to hear your thoughts on the Travis Konecny extension. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you like more in the middle, or are you on the side of the two extremes of the love the contract, or I despise this contract. I would definitely love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to drop a like on the video as well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. Great deal. Do not pass it up. Thanks, guys, for tuning in to today. Love y'all. I'll see you next time.